Hello everyone, it's Lien Yeung and you are watching BC Now on CBC News British Columbia. Thank you so much for joining us. I am coming to you today live from Surrey, British Columbia, and you can see I'm inside a building. I'm actually inside the building of the brand new Surrey Police Service, or the Surrey Police Service that is coming to be. And it's kind of rare that we get to be actually inside their building. We're here because there's a press conference just right around the corner here that's just about to get underway very, very soon. We are about to hear for the very first time from Mike Serr. So he was recently announced as the administrator of the Surrey Police Board. And if his name sounds familiar to you, this might be why. I'll let him explain himself.
Before we get started, I want to introduce myself in my new role as the Surrey Police Board Administrator. As many people are already aware, I recently retired from a long career in policing. I began my career with the Vancouver Police Department and finished my career proudly, leading the Abbotsford Police Department as the chief.
So that was recently retired Abbotsford Police Chief Mike Serr, now the new administrator named by the Solicitor General Mike Farnworth just about 2 weeks ago as the new administrator of the Surrey Police Board. And so at the time, all of media was calling him, trying to get an interview, but it wasn't available to us then. But now this press conference is about to happen. And just about an hour ago, where you saw that clip from, he actually held his first police board meeting. So what happened was Solicitor General, so the Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth, had actually suspended the police board that was in existence at the time, which includes the chair, Mayor Brenda Locke, who's been very much against this transition towards SPS. And she's been fighting since the start of her election campaign to keep the RCMP in Surrey. And so Mike Farnworth had suspended that police board, saying that there was a lack of progress, and instead implemented this new administrator. And so we wanted to understand a little bit more about why he did it. The statement we got at the time was really just about the lack of progress that he saw with the existing police board. And so we spoke with political scientist Stuart Press just earlier, just to get a little bit more of an understanding of explaining all of this. And here's how he explained it to us.
I think it's clearly an escalation of sorts by the province, an indication that they are looking to resolve this issue as quickly as possible to bring this 5+ year saga to an end. And in this case, I think they are focusing in particular on, say, budgeting practices around the introduction of this new police force and the winding down then of the RCMP, and ensuring that the police board in Surrey is going to not be a potential obstacle to having those numbers ready and for the next stage of the transition.
So we've been covering, and I'm sure if you're a Surrey resident or anybody in BC, you've been hearing about this transition happening here in the city of Surrey for about the last 5 years. It's been going back and forth, and we all know that the situation has been quite tense. And as Stuart mentioned, this was the latest kind of escalation in the province putting its foot down, especially back in July, saying that we are going to go ahead with the transition to the Surrey Police Service. And of course, Mayor Brenda Locke has come out and has actually said the province, or says that her city is going to come back with several lawsuits against what the province has done. So I mean, all of that is going to unfold itself in the legal system. We'll see how that goes. But what we did hear from Mike Serr this morning when he was introducing himself at that police board meeting, it was very short, only about 20 minutes. He started off, of course, talking about who he is and what he plans to do, and he explained that he's all about good governance. He believes in building relationships with people, and he's looking forward to transitioning respectfully. So that's something that he's committed to moving forward on. And of course, he's been implemented and announced by the Solicitor General. So and the province is very keen to move forward with this. So we can probably reliably say that he is going to be moving forward with it. And he reinforced that this is a temporary role. So the idea is that it's anywhere between 12 to 18 months that he's going to be in this, because typically police boards are civilian boards. And, you know, Mike Serr, of course, is now a civilian, but nonetheless, he comes from a very strong policing background. And so that police board is made up of volunteers. And so they've now been suspended, and they're you know, we'll be hearing from them soon. And it looks like I heard the door behind me just opened. There's Mike Serr. He's about to come in this way. Oh, is he coming through? There he is. Hi.
Hi there, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Good.
We're joining you in there in a sec.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we'll probably give him a second to get ready. And so I also wanted to give you an update on what he said the first thing he did after he was announced in this role, that he reached out to Surrey City Council to find out from them what they want to see from him moving forward. And I think that press conference is just about to get started, so why don't we go over there?
Salish peoples, and we are grateful that we can share these lands. There are a number of items that I want to speak to you about today, and I'd like to begin by saying how humbled I am in accepting this role. This is a challenging position, and I want to assure the residents of Surrey that I will provide sound governance and oversight for the Surrey Police Service as they continue to move forward with this transition. I would like to start by clarifying my role as board administrator. I accepted this role because I have a great deal of respect for the work of the Surrey Police Board, and I believe in the Surrey Police Service. What the board has accomplished to date is nothing short of exceptional. They have governed the most complex policing transition in our country's history. I have worked in municipal policing all of my life, and I recognize and deeply value civilian oversight. I am taking on this role with the utmost respect for the board and with the understanding that this is an unprecedented circumstance. The police are best served, and they best serve the community when there is strong civilian oversight. It is my genuine hope that my role as administrator is short-lived and the established police board can return to their duties as soon as possible. In this role, I've been appointed by the provincial government. However, I am completely independent, just as all police boards are. Next, I would like to address the matter of budget and costs. Over the past 2 weeks, I've been provided with numerous briefings and reports on the 2024 provisional budget. I've met with Surrey Police staff, the Strategic Implementation Advisor, and a team from Deloitte who supported the development of this budget. Earlier today, I held a closed board meeting in which I was presented with a detailed review of the budget. After requesting the staff make some changes, I approved the provisional budget for submission. We will submit that provisional budget to City Council today, and I will not comment on the details yet because City Council should have the courtesy of seeing that budget first. I will, however, comment on how we establish that budget. The SPS 2024 provisional budget has been carefully developed. It reflects guidance from the Strategic Implementation Advisor, Jessica McDonald, on the appropriate assumptions. She also made available direct support from the independent accounting firm of Deloitte. Most importantly, I am assured that this budget has been carefully developed in alignment with the City of Surrey 2023 to 2027 financial plan. I recognize the critical path of implementation work with all parties may impact on the assumptions within this budget. If there are changes to the assumptions prior to March, when the budget is required to be finalized, these will be reflected in an amended budget submission to the city. With the blended services currently at 25% SPS officers, the underlying assumptions reflected in this budget is that SPS will hire 180 more sworn officers in 2024. This will bring the blended service to over 50% SPS by the end of 2024. I believe this budget, along with the underlying assumptions, will give City Council confidence in the numbers associated with moving forward with this transition. I've also extended an invitation to City Council and the city staff to provide a full technical briefing on this budget. I recognize there's been confusion over the actual cost of the transition and the overall cost for the Surrey Police Service moving forward. And it is my hope that a transparent budget process will give clarity and comfort to the residents and businesses in Surrey. In closing, I want to thank the board staff and SPS staff for their support in onboarding me over the last 2 weeks. The amount of work that has gone into building the Surrey Police Service is nothing short of exceptional, and I look forward to working with Chief Lipinski and the SPS team to continue this momentum. And I can now take some questions.
So Mike, I wanted to ask You know, how do you anticipate what you're doing will be different than what the previous board was doing?
Yeah, I mean, first I want to start by saying that, you know, exceptional respect for the board. You know, for 3 years, they've built the Surrey Police Service. You know, but you know, as you know, there was some challenges that were identified and, you know, some important things that needed to be moved forward, like this budget and moving forward with governance and oversight. But I very much would like to see the board reestablished, unpaused as soon as possible. I truly believe in civilian governance and oversight. So, you know, I have a very difficult role, but in doing that, I know that seeing the board coming back soon is important.
So with your assumption of 2024, will that make Surrey Police Service the police service of jurisdiction in Surrey? And currently, as we understand it,
Yeah, so a really important discussion and point. So the Strategic Implementation Advisor, Jessica McDonald, has a very crucial role, and she is working with all parties, CP, SPS, all levels of government, to develop transition plans, and those are ongoing. So exactly that timeline I can't provide you, and certainly that's something that I'm very alive to, and this budget is going to be very connected to. But you know, we want to build SPS to move forward with the transition. They've been static this year with a lot of the different decisions, and this budget is moving this transition forward and working with our partners in the RCMP and all levels of government to make that happen efficiently and as we can.
a follow-up to that, I mean, the SBS sort of had it on a cloud today using the RCMP, the bullying in the workplace. Do you have any comments on that, and what kind of a combined force are we expecting if we already have this?
Yeah, so I am aware of it, and I can't really comment too much other than to say that, you know, I have the utmost respect for all police officers, municipal, RCMP. As I said, I've worked in the municipal environment for over 30 years, but in that time, I also worked in many seconded units, working with the RCMP as teams. So naturally, there is going to be some challenges when you're trying to do such a massive change. But I really hope that moving forward, we can work together to find a pathway forward and support this transition.
Have you met with the former board at all? Have you, or where do they sit in all this now?
Yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to meet with them. I certainly would like the opportunity to get their guidance on many important decisions that they've made. I've read the previous minutes from their meetings and have a good understanding of the work that's done. So, you know, moving forward, I think there'll be an opportunity to have those meetings. But at the same time, I'd like to see them reestablished as soon as possible.
What happened? Sorry, go ahead.
So in your previous, in the meeting you had at 2:15, you said that you have reached out to City Council to try and find out from them what they wanted to hear from you. What was that meeting like, and what did you hear from them?
Yeah, so I'm actually very excited. I mean, my career has been built on building relationships, working collaboratively, you know, with, you know, my previous work, working with mayor and council and city staff. So I have put out an offer, and I have had the opportunity already to speak to a couple of city councilors, and I have meetings scheduled moving forward to continue to have those meetings. And as I said, I've extended an offer to sit down with mayor and council and to do a technical briefing about the budget. So there's clear transparency and understanding of how this budget today will work with the transition moving forward with the RCMP.
Have you spoken specifically with the mayor, with Brenda Law?
I have sent her a message and said that I'd very much like to, and she is. We have a meeting that we are scheduling in the very near future, and I'm looking forward to that because that's going to be very important to hear her perspectives.
Yeah, for sure, because I think part of the challenge the previous board faced was that they weren't able to get a budget from the city, and that's exactly what I think you're going to try and get through. What do you think that you're going to do that's going to be different than what they're trying to do, what they tried to do for a really long time?
You know, I think for me the important thing is confidence, you know, in building, and it has to be done in conjunction with the RCMP. The city of Surrey has a budget that's allocated for policing, and it's in that, as I mentioned earlier, the 2023-2027 financial plan. And with that is a budget to cover all policing. Currently, that budget is supporting the RCMP and the Surrey Police Service. And really to talk about how we move this transition forward as the Surrey Police Service is able to increase, allowing the RCMP to decrease at the same level, will help to to level off those budgets. So, really talking, I think, as the strategic implementation advisor, about developing that transition plan that can move along this transition, but is also being done in a respectful place and ensures public safety in Surrey.
Mike, what authority does the board have if the city does reject this budget?
Yeah, I'm not looking that far down the road, because I'm really trying to be, very optimistic that I can work with the board, with the mayor and council, and work with the collective budgets and that. As you know, under the Police Act, there is, mechanisms that we can, bring in police services, but, I remain optimistic that we can continue to have open dialogue and to move this forward.
So we know this is a temporary measure. Do you know how long your stint's going to be? We heard 12 to 18 months being floated. Do you know how long you're going to be in this role for?
Yeah, I don't know specifically. That would certainly be up to the minister, but I can tell you that I've made it very clear from the day I accepted this position that I want the earlier estimation of how long I'd be in this. Because again, I really value and believe, I've been very fortunate in my career to have exceptional boards who bring a wealth of experience, different opinions, different expertise. And I think that's very important, especially as the Surrey Police Service continues to build on their transition moving forward.
You're probably looking forward to retirement. Now you're going to be very busy again. So when the minister came to you and asked you to take on this task, which is probably one of the most challenging issues, one of the most challenging issues in our province right now, what was your take on it? What was your initial response when he asked you?
I mean, as I said, I am just so deeply connected to policing, to public safety. I have such respect for every person that wears that badge and keeps our community safe. And I was not looking for this opportunity. People had commented. My plan was to go fishing and start that. Really, that is where I want to go. But I saw this as an opportunity where perhaps some of my experiences, I could make a small difference and continue to support the Surrey Police Service in their transition, but also hopefully be part of the conversations and respectful conversations in moving a very difficult and challenging transition that has gone on for 3 years, that has caused a lot of animosity, and try to hopefully bring a little us all together and try to find a way to move this forward.
You seek advice from anyone? Like you said, difficult, challenging, probably one of the most political kind of situations that we've seen.
Yeah, well, my wife of 32 years is amazing, and she has guided me in many difficult days. But as my role in the board, I will have to make some difficult decisions, and I certainly, where appropriate, will reach out to people who can provide me sound quality guidance and subject matter experts and different different organizations that may be able to give me some guidance and some support. But yeah, it's going to be a challenging time. But I certainly know that my 33 plus years in policing and many years working with boards and governance and oversight, that I know that I have the tools that are necessary to do this really important work.
Any thoughts on Surrey's legal challenge and how, if at all, it will affect Surrey's hammer?
Yeah, I mean, I am aware of it, and certainly I can't comment on an active charter application, of course. But what I do know in being in this role is that the longer this transition takes, the more costs that are borne to the citizens of Surrey. So, but I have to let that play out, and we'll see where that goes. But I'm really hopeful that through conversations with mayor and council that we can look at opportunities to move forward.
Was Justin McDonald present in that party?
She was present, yes, for the budget presentation, and I've been very fortunate to have multiple conversations with her, and I know she is speaking to all parties and really just trying to bring everyone together and build a path forward that really works for everybody and is collaborative, respectful, and at the same time very mindful of everybody in Surrey, keeping them safe and being also mindful of the financial impacts.
I just wanted to come back to the court documents that were filed around the toxic work culture that's been alleged by the Surrey Police Union. How do you think that's going to affect your relationship now with RCMP coming into this as you try and make this transition go forward?
Yeah, I hope that my relationship with the RCMP that goes back really 30 plus years, it's unfortunate that there's been some challenges, but I'm going to let that work its way out, and there's a process that's in place that I think is very important that process plays out. And from that process, what I hope is we learn. I hope that we can take from that some valuable understanding on, and go from there. So yeah, we'll follow through on that process. Good. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
All right, so we just heard from the Surrey Police Board's Administrator, Mike Serr, give his take on what he thinks the next year or so, year and a half is going to look like with him as the administrator of the Surrey Police Board. And, he was very optimistic, as we heard him say. And, the number of things that he talked about was that the big thing for him on the agenda is pushing through that budget. And that budget was the big challenge that previous board was not able to secure or push through and even get numbers from the city. And he recognizes it's going to be a very difficult and challenging time for him. That to say the least. I think he said it's been ongoing for 3 years. From our numbers, it's, I think, been closer to about 5 years that this debate has been happening in the community. And I believe I've got Justin McElroy, who's on the line with me, and he's been listening in. So Justin, do we have Justin?
Hi, Leanne. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Justin. Thank you so much. So what did you make of what you heard from Mike Serr there today?
Well, Mike Serr is a professional police administrator and a professional, politician in a sense of being able to say a lot without revealing too many details or ruffling too many feathers. He's been put into a tough spot. This is a delicate dance and situation of trying to make the Surrey Police Service reality, of trying to get the city of Surrey to agree to the budgetary demands to ramp up the Surrey Police Service, to try and edge over some of the bad feelings that have developed between Surrey Police Service staff based on that union complaint and arbitration happening, and RCMP administrators. So, the provincial government certainly hopes that his manner and his ability to try and get sides to work together, as he did when he led Abbotsford's police department, will be an asset here now as the sole board member overseeing this. But you heard the questions that were given, and you heard sort of the confidence, but also the vagueness in terms of what comes next and what he's hoping to do. It just illustrates the depth of the problem in front of him.
Yeah, and Justin, I should know, of course, you're our municipal affairs reporter. You've been watching all of this go down very, very closely. Do you think his optimism is warranted?
I think he has to say that he's optimistic. And ultimately, the fact that the provincial government has been so forthright and confident in the fact that they are going to make this go through, whether or not Surrey City Council and Mayor Brenda Locke want it to go through, they ultimately have the power of the purse string. They have the power to put in new legislation, as they have already, in order to make Mike Serr the sole administrator of the Surrey Police Board. So they can do a lot to make sure that this does happen, that they do have the budget needed, that they are able to hire people. The question is, how difficult is the city of Surrey and the Surrey RCMP?
Wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall in that meeting that he says he's going to have with Mayor Brenda Locke? My goodness, I can't imagine what that's going to be like, since she has just been so vehement against, her disapproval of this entire situation.
Yeah, and for the last year, Locke has been the chair of the police board that is supposed to make this to reality, and that's obviously caused issues with moving forward some of the things that needs to happen if the Surrey Police Service is indeed going to be the main jurisdiction. But the big question is just how difficult Surrey Council, RCMP, are going to make things for Serr and by proxy the provincial government in these moves forward. Certainly they're hoping that Serr's relationships, as Serr said himself, with the RCMP through 30 years with a lot of these key players is going to make a difference, or we could see the same paralysis that we've seen for a while.
Yeah, and lastly, Justin, I wanted to talk about these the court documents that were filed, talking about a culture of bullying between RCMP and the Surrey Police Force, as they're talking about this blended force that they're trying to have. That's been filed, I guess, within the last couple of days by the Surrey Police Union. You brought that to my attention. How much do you think that's going to be an obstacle as this transition, tries to continue to happen?
I mean, so far it's interesting. In spite of this document and in spite of this ongoing complaint by the Surrey Police Union, which is now almost over a year old, we haven't seen Surrey residents talk about a breakdown in terms of the policing that they're getting. Because keep in mind, right now, the RCMP has less officers than they did before. The Surrey Police Service has more, but it still has been a situation where they're working together. Thus far, it hasn't seemed to spill over that animosity in terms of people's perceptions on the ground in Surrey about how they're being policed. And certainly, Serr is hoping that will not be the case going forward. But this is just one of the many stumbling blocks. If the plan is to have the Surrey Police Service be more than 50% of officers on the ground by the end of next year, and they're taking over the lead for lots of these investigation and calls on the ground. That requires an understanding from officer to officer and a culture that is emanating from the senior leadership of both police services. Will it happen? I mean, that's, going to rely on a lot of things, but one of them is having a board and Serr's leadership move things forward in a way that for the last year, for a variety of reasons, just has not taken place.
Yeah, certainly. I think as Mike Serr said, it's been a very challenging environment, and I'm sure, based on those court documents, it appears it's been a challenging environment for the officers themselves, and perhaps this shift in leadership from really the top might be the key to transitioning actually happening smoothly. All right, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much, Justin McElroy. Always good to talk to you.
Thanks, Leanne.
All right, and I think that's it for us, coming to you from the Surrey Police Services office. And, I can tell you it's interesting to see when you're a police service that is in transition. There's a lot of printed papers and, things, signage that isn't quite in there yet as they're trying to make that transition. We'll be, of course, watching very closely. Thanks for watching BC Now. I'm Lien Yeung.